D-Lo for boxing. Alright, y'all. So the undisputed champion at 140 pounds, Josh Taylor, went up against his mandatory Jack Catterall over in the UK and essentially got outboxed, got dropped, and won a highly disputed decision, which most fans are calling a robbery. Most boxing media is calling a robbery. Coming out of that fight, when Josh Taylor was questioned about whether or not he whether he felt the need to give Catterall a rematch, he basically made the statement that he feels 100% he wanted to fight, and that basically there's no reason for a rematch. That, you know, he did what he had to do and he wants to move on. A lot of people saying that Josh Taylor is going to move on up to 147 pounds. Josh Taylor has hinted at it himself, but we've seen and heard over the years, fighters gonna move up after a loss or after a closely contested win or after a tough fight, and then in a lot of cases they don't move up. Jose Ramirez, for all intents and purposes, was supposed to be moving up to 147 pounds after he lost to Josh Taylor, but he's still at 140. Mario Barrios was supposed to be moving up to 147, but he stayed at 140 and fought Tank. So you just never know. I think if the right opportunity comes along, Josh Taylor will take the fight at 140. Right opportunity comes along, maybe he goes up to 47. I heard Josh Taylor say in the build-up about how good his conditioning was, how good things went with his nutritionist and all this, that, and the other, and how he felt good coming into the fight. But then after the fight, everyone wants to talk about the man's weight drained, he can't make the weight anymore, this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. End of the day, he went out there, he got out bested by Catterall. And to be honest, the only thing, if he's going to stay at 140, the only sensible thing and self-respecting thing he should do is be willing to give that man a rematch. Maybe he fares much better in a rematch, maybe he doesn't. But a lot of the greats over the years, when they've had fights that were close, they ended up running those fights back. Maybe not immediately, but at some point. And I'll just, Floyd Mayweather Jr. comes to mind, when there were the two fights that he had that people really really rounded came around screaming robbery. That was the Castillo fight, the first Castillo fight, and the first McDonald fight. And both of those fights, Floyd fought immediate rematches. So I just look at it like, if you're a champion, especially when you're considered pound for pound top 10, you should want to leave no doubt that you're the better man, the better fighter, if you go into a situation where your fans are coming out. Because I'm telling you, the people who first reached out to me and told me that it was a robbery, that Josh Taylor went out there and got his ass whooped, that's their words. Those people are very, they ride very hard on Josh Taylor, in terms of, for Josh Taylor, Taylor game, So before I ever even went back and watched the fight, when I heard it from certain people, I knew that Josh Taylor had a bad outing, and if they're saying that he got a robbery win, then I believed it, even before I went back and watched the fight. Now, after I went back and watched the fight, I agree. I clearly felt like Josh Taylor lost the fight. And, there were points in the fight that were a little sloppy and chippy, but even in those points in the fight, I felt like Josh Taylor was getting out-fought. I just felt like people like to say when a fighter wins a closely debated decision, that, it could have been a draw at worst. Nah, I can't even justify a draw in this situation. I think Catterall clearly, the closest you could give it is like 2 rounds. Catterall winning by 2 rounds. 115, 113 plus the knockdown. They both had offsetting point deductions. So, that's the closest I can see the fight. Anything less than that, to me, is you're just egregiously trying to give Josh Taylor benefit of the doubt that he doesn't deserve, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about his prestige, doesn't matter about his ranking on the pound for pound list, doesn't matter about who he's beat in the past, doesn't matter about his marketability. What matters is who you saw actually go out there and win more rounds in that fight. And for me, it's hard to see anybody other than Jack Catterall as the winner in this fight. Now, as far as Josh Taylor, it remains to be seen what's next for him. If I had my way, he'd be fighting Jack Catterall next, regardless of what excuses he got about weight or this, that, and the other. I feel like Catterall is deserving of another opportunity to become undisputed champion at 140 pounds. That's all I got on it. D-Lo 404 Boxing. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm out. Peace.